Hi, I wanted to give a brief chat about the current situation and how I believe that it relates to idol worship, and how actually I think that that is the key problem that's going on here. That basically I feel that what we are doing is actually allowing people too much trust, people that we don't know often. And if we treat anyone, like a god, that we give them complete trust, whereby we believe everything that they say, and we're too naive or gullible, and we're too trusting, then the real problem with that is we can be led by whatever they're saying, whether it's true or false. And we can fall for false doctrines, false information all too easily. So we need to be extremely careful about the trust and the trust that we have and who we choose to give it to. Because the beliefs that we have in our life come about from the information that we gather and what we choose to give validity to, both what we choose to pay attention to, where we give our focus, but also what we internalize and what we accept as true. Because if we accept something as true, then that will obviously lead to us going out and carrying out different kinds of actions. If I, for example, believe a doctor that tells me a certain treatment is good and will help me, and I trust his authority, and I think it has value, then I might go out and agree to an action whereby I take the treatment and I'm affected by it. So it really has an impact on our life and our behaviour and what we choose to do. And that can be profound. So we need to be very cautious about what we consider true, before we go off and act upon it or not. And indeed, before we go off and spread that information to others as well. Because if I go off and say to someone, oh, this one wonderful doctor's told me to have this treatment, and then that person has the treatment and it harms them and they have all these side effects, and they might come to me and say, oh, you're the one that sold this to me, you're the one that advised me to have this, on what authority did you do this? And it might be that I am partly therefore responsible or have played some part in that treatment harming them. However, you have to take responsibility for making an informed decision as much as you're able to. And I think that's a really important part of it for me, that we have to consider the validity of what someone's saying. We have to fairly assess it. We have to be critical, neither under nor overly critical. We first of all have to consider that everyone is just a person. No one, however much an authority figure, should be given a free ride. You can't assume anyone is totally true. Doesn't matter who you are. We can all make mistakes and we can all do things wrong on purpose. We can all say things wrong on purpose. And that's true of anybody in life. Whether they're an emperor, a king or queen, a president, a prime minister, or any other kind of minister, a doctor, a nurse, a television presenter, a reporter, a journalist, a police officer, anyone who's in authority, a government minister, your neighbour, your father, your mother, your friends, your family, people down the road, people who are producing videos, directors, actors, doesn't matter what profession or class or race or religion or age or sexuality or what mental or physical abilities you have, we all are capable of both making mistakes genuinely, but also of saying or doing things wrong on purpose. Because none of us have exactly correct knowledge about the world. We all get wrong information sometimes. And none of us have completely good compassion for others. None of us are caring about everyone all the time. We all have our selfish moments sometimes. So we do need to be wary of idolatry and treating other people like gods, because there is real and genuine risk within that. Because if I idolize them and treat them like they're God, and treat the information that they are saying as if it's totally correct, then that can lead me to bad thoughts. It can lead me to bad actions, to harming myself and others, even if that's unwittingly. So it will have a consequence if we do that. So it's not just some abstract, silly rule written in a book. It has real effects and real implications on both your life, mine, and indeed everyone's. So we need to be careful, not giving anyone too much respect or not too little. As Descartes said quite rightly, everything and everyone is worth questioning. No one, no matter what their rank or authority, is beyond questioning. We need to assess before accepting what someone's saying, whether it has got genuine truth. Now, I want to come on to talk about what I try and do scientifically nowadays. If I meet someone who's a stranger, and you often do in life, if I don't know what their position is, I will start off agnostic. So if I'm watching a documentary or a film, or perhaps a news broadcast, or I'm watching even a cartoon, or reading a book, or journal, or magazine, and I don't know the people, then I will start off with agnostic. And that means to say you don't know. You don't assume that what they're saying is false. You don't assume what they're saying is true. You start off by saying, it might be true, it might not be. I don't know to begin with. You start off with a blank page. And that's whether you're meeting someone down the pub, in the park, in your own house, perhaps even, out in a social environment, or whether it's through social media, the television, listening to them on the radio, or watching it through a film, or whatever medium it happens to be. So I think what it is really is making sure that you question someone, but fairly, and don't make assumptions to begin with that it's true or false. And don't make any assumptions just because large numbers of people think something. Don't be led by the herd. Don't be a populist. Sometimes the crowd are right. Sometimes there's a good reason why lots of people think things, because it's got validity, because it is true. But other times, lots of people might think things because they're coerced, because of peer pressure, because they've been manipulated to do so, or because it's an illusion and something looks like it is this, but it turns out not to be, and lots of people are susceptible to it, and I am too. I've had lots of times in my life when I've believed something that turned out to be false, and so I've got to try and be careful not to carry on with something if I find information that will contradict what my own beliefs are. I've got to be prepared to revise those beliefs, to redraw the cognitive maps that I've been carrying around, which may be wrong. Otherwise, it could well lead me into the wrong thoughts, into the wrong actions, and in doing the wrong things to myself and others. I must be prepared to change old beliefs and old ideas that turn out to be wrong, and not cling on to wrong ideas, because that's going to lead me to bad actions and bad thoughts. So I wanted to make it a short but sweet video, and I think this is so relevant to the situation that we're living in now. I think it's worthwhile taking a chance to listen to as many different sources, investigate people, but do it fairly, and be consistent. That's another point I wanted to make. Don't treat other people differently. The methods by which you question people, the standards by which you uphold them to, make sure that you apply that to people fairly, whether they're poor or rich, whether they're famous or anonymous, from whatever profession, race, religion or age they happen to be from. Make sure that you are consistent. Don't give some people a free ride, yet other people you question. Make sure that you are consistent in the standards that you apply to other people, and that you're fair. and that way you're much more able to get a truer perspective of what the situation is, and therefore you're much more able to act on things in a better manner if you've got access to more correct information. Even then, even when we apply such standards, we can still sometimes make mistakes, and we do, but we're much better equipped to do things right if we're employing right methods in our way, that in our conduct of how we're treating other people and the information that they're providing. And I think as a last note, we need to be careful trying to give out information that's correct too, and be cautious. If we're not sure about something, we need to say, okay, I suspect this is the case, but I'm not absolutely sure and I might be wrong. Because if we knowingly pass off false information, it will be us that are held accountable for that one day in the future, and we will be judged according to our deeds and how we've treated others, and there will be consequences to that. You know, we have the freedom to do what we want in life, but we don't have freedom from the consequences of those actions. So I just wanted to say about idol worship, how it is so dangerous, and this is a message for everyone. If you believe in God, it's really important not to treat other people as gods. But whether you believe in God or not, it's still important not to. I would say to atheists, if you don't believe in God, why on earth would you treat anyone else like they're God? You know, why would you treat anyone else as if they were all knowing, as if they were all caring about you? Nobody is. Everyone has things, gaps in their knowledge and mistakes they make. Everyone's capable of giving false information to you. Everyone is capable of being mean sometimes and not always compassionate and caring. You know, from a psychological point of view, I think it is rationalizing that, whether you're atheist or theist, whether you believe in God or not, it's recognizing we all can have faults in our life. We all can make mistakes in how we treat other people. And I think that's really critical to realise that. There's a danger in deifying other people and in treating them like gods, as if they are beyond judgment, beyond criticism, beyond examination. But there's an equal danger as well of demonising people and actually putting people down and only seeing the bad within them. So I think we need to be cautious about either, not demonising someone and making them seem worse than they are, but also not deifying someone and making them seem better than they are. Both approaches will lead to bad thoughts and bad actions, something we all need to be cautious about guarding against. Just going to end it here because, in short, those are my thoughts about idol worship, and not just how it is affecting the current situation, but how it affects life in general anyway. Because the current situation is so important in terms of getting accurate information, in knowing how to adopt our behaviours and how to behave around other people, because we are basing that on information that we're being given by other people. And too much of the time I'm seeing information that is being unquestioned, that is being assumed to be true. I'm seeing people that are authority figures just being given a right to just say things unquestioned and treated almost like they are beyond questioning, like gods to an extent. Now, I don't think everyone is doing that, and there are good authority figures too, but there are also some that are irresponsible, and that we know from history that there are people that abuse positions of responsibility from whatever those positions are, sadly. So we should discern all people and all things that all people say fairly. And I think that way we will be in a much better position. And if we can do anything, we perhaps can learn this. That's not saying that we don't listen to what others say, whether that's in television, whether that's online, in forums, uploaded videos on YouTube, or whatever other site there may be. We certainly should consider what people say, but we don't have to blindly follow them. And that's true in any situation, whether you're in a church, a mosque, a synagogue, a temple, whether you're in a shopping centre, whether they're on television or on radio, whether it's in your own home or at the community centre, whether it's at work, down the pub, whether you're in a park or in any place, and from anyone, from any walk of life. We must always question anything and anyone fairly. And of course that should lead us to question, what is it to question fairly? What does that mean? And I think that that's something that each of us need to consider properly. And I think it is also making sure that we don't idolize ourselves, so that we question ourselves as well. Because like I said earlier, too often we're carrying around these old maps that we've drawn, and we need to redraw those maps sometimes, because we need to rethink how we see the world, because sometimes we do carry false information around with us. I've done it for many, many years, and I know it can be hard, but it's necessary to change those views if they are false. And so we need to lean not to our own understanding too much, but also lean not to other people's understanding either, knowing that we're all capable of making mistakes and doing things wrong on purpose sometimes.